Political side of this, right? We've been talking about the legal angles. Joining us now to discuss the politics of all of these court cases is NewsNation contributor Kurt Bardella, and he's also a veteran political and media strategist. Joining us from Washington, D.C. I'm curious, Trump has all of these different indictments and trials that he's going to be dealing with over the next few months, but does it further bolster his political capital? Take the case in Georgia, for example, this morning as we wait for closing arguments. How much does this help him?
Well, I think it's continued to help him, obviously, in the Republican primary. The MAGA base is fervently behind him. And you remember, as we went into last year, there was kind of this movement around a Trump alternative. That's why Ron DeSantis got so much traction in the beginning. But as these cases started piling up, the Republican faithful lined up behind Trump. They saw it as unfair prosecution of a political adversary to the Democrats. And that narrative really took hold and propelled Trump all the way really through this primary season, to the point where he never even had to enter a debate stage with all of the people who are running against him at one point. And now he's kind of the de facto nominee at this point, all due respect to Nikki Haley. So I think it helped him in the primary. I don't think this helps him in the general. I think the more that you associate the Republican nominee with court cases and being prosecuted for 91 indictments, that's just not a good thing. That's not a good image. And I don't know yet logistically how he's going to be able to fend off these 4 court cases, all while running for president of the United States, which is a massive operation. It's a massive organizational, logistical lift. I don't know how you can do that while you're sitting in a courtroom all the time.
And of the cases, which is politically more damaging when it comes to independents, those who are not Trump loyalists come November, if he is the nominee?
Well, I think certainly anything related to January 6th and the last election is politically potent, in part because that's such a central narrative to Trump's campaign messaging. He continually relitigates the last election, continues to say that he really won it, that the election was rigged. He's even advancing that narrative to 2024, saying people should not vote by mail or vote early because you can't trust the system. And so anything related to that has a lot of potency to it. And there are a number of Republican primary voters, those who are behind alternatives like Nikki Haley, who have said if Trump is found guilty of one of these crimes, they're not voting for him.
The other thing that's happening, one, I want to get your temperature on the federal elections case, the Supreme Court taking up Trump's immunity claim. At best, this means a trial would not happen until late summer or even into the fall. So you're talking close to Election Day. Does this happen before voters head to the polls?
I think that the more that these things get delayed, the less likely it is we'll get an outcome before the election, which I think is part of Trump's legal strategy in the first place, is to kind of punt all of these as much as he can. That's why he's always filing these motions for delays and extensions and trying to move the ball further down the field. The closer that we get to the election, I think a lot of courts and judges will be reticent to take it up so close to a presidential election because of the political environment that'll be at play. So that is a potentially effective strategy to try to just stave all of this off as long as possible. We'll see if the Supreme Court decides to take this up in the fall. But again, this close to an election, Chief Justice Roberts seems reticent to politicize any of the decisions. I think that they would take into consideration the proximity to a November election.
Yeah, it's not a place the Supreme Court likes to be. Also, we have not had a ruling yet on the Colorado case. So we'll see if that happens as we get closer to Super Tuesday. Clock's ticking. Kurt, thank you. Nice to see you.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Well, the biggest day of this year's